Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out. If we could invite anybody who wants to sit, there's a few more seats. And if somebody's willing to just poke their head in there and get the last people who want to come out, we're going to get started in just a second. My name is Ivan Carroll. I work with Give Development. Amanda Bearden, where's Amanda? Amanda Bearden, right there, and I were the developers from Give on this project, and so we got the chance to see this go from concept to, well, to what we see today. It was just like that warehouse right there, and it's now home for a whole lot of people. Before we get started, I did want to give a few thanks. I know I'm going to leave a few people out, so I apologize beforehand, but specifically Amanda and Jess, you've seen her running around helping put this event together with some people from Rocky Mountain, Kevin, Tiffany, I'm sure I'm leaving a few people out. We have, Give in general has so many people to thank. The list is enormous, but Andrew Bowe, I don't know if Melvin's here, specifically for supporting us these last few projects we've been working on. They've been fantastic partners. UHC, I know Grant Whitaker, Claudia Brady are here. They're the ones who run the tax credit program, the low-income housing tax credit that was used to build the first phase, and is going to be used to build the second phase as well. Olin Walker Housing Loan Fund, talk a little bit about those later, but I'm sure I've missed a bunch. I'll look through my list and I'll be back up here, so I'll get another chance. It's also my opportunity to introduce all these great people that have taken time out of the day to be here and share some thoughts with us. First off, we're going to hear from Mayor Jackie Biskupski. The city in general has made such a huge emphasis on affordable housing, energy efficient construction, two huge things that we have always been trying to involve ourselves with as well. And from staff members on up, everybody here in Salt Lake City has been fantastic to work with. It's been a huge help getting this project in particular built, and then even for the second phase, getting some things lined up. So everybody please welcome up Mayor Jackie Biskupski.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Isn't this exciting? Like, you cannot help but be completely energized by what's happening behind me. And if you looked at, and if you haven't, make sure you do, but if you look at what's on the walls and what's been put in writing to help people understand how doable this is, please do that. We see this as a role model project for our city, and are very hopeful that other developers latch onto this vision that is evolving right here in our community, that is not evolving all across the country. You'd be surprised at how much work we need to do nationally to move in this direction. So we really are setting a trend here, hopefully, and I'm very grateful. Chris and I worked together on the Blue Ribbon Commission, and you know, he brought into the room the viability of projects like this for affordable housing, and we're very excited to have the Give Development Group here in our community doing such phenomenal work, and not being the naysayer. You know, all too often I hear it's not possible, it won't pencil out, you can't do that, it's too expensive. And those are words that never leave the lips of the gentlemen who are behind me. And I am so grateful to them for having the vision and bringing it to fruition so that others can follow their lead. And that, for me, is a huge deal. We've been out to the community, and we created an affordable housing plan. Melissa Jensen is here today, and she's on my team, and we created a 5-year housing plan for affordability, and went to the community and said, will you help fund our plan? And they said yes. And They took on a sales tax increase so that we can move projects forward in affordable housing. And so you will see more of this to come and help us build affordable housing in a way that helps us clear the air, which is a major goal for all of us. We know we need to clear our air, and it is projects like this that are powered on 100% renewable energy that will help us get there. So yes, you can build affordable housing projects which improve your local community and lift people out of homelessness. And yes, you can find partners who will help you get that done. And yes, you can do this right here in Salt Lake City. Phase 1 of Project Open House turned the development model upside down. Give development started, not with the cost per square foot, but with the needs of residents who will call this place home top of mind. Give understood that by investing today in green infrastructure, that we would reap the benefits tomorrow. And Give was willing to take that chance because they understand that they are part of a larger community, a community with a serious air quality problem, a problem which disproportionately affects the low-income community members. By creating Project Open House here in the Guadalupe neighborhood, Give is investing in the future of this area, not by displacing residents through gentrification, but by creating opportunity. A major goal in my mission and vision as mayor, opportunity and equity. And this kind of partnership is so supportive of that endeavor. I am incredibly proud of what we are doing here and truly grateful to Give Development. And it will be my honor to partner with Give by writing a $1.5 million check for Phase 2. Today we are opening a space which will bring 81 units of truly affordable housing into our market. With the city's affordable housing plan in hand and the ongoing funding from the residents, we are tackling the affordable housing crisis head on. Thank you again to Give for doing this and getting this work done, and for showing everyone, not just here in Salt Lake City, not just here in the state, but across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to get up here too many times, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce the next two speakers today. I mentioned we have a whole lot of people to thank, and one of our very first supporters from day one was Goldman Sachs Urban Investment Group. And Michael Lohr from UIG is here today, and he has become a friend. He's become somebody we can turn to as we try to find ways to provide affordable housing in the community. His input has always been super valuable. They've actually been directly involved with us in helping us build 500 apartments, the vast majority of which are affordable, and almost half of which are right here in Salt Lake City, just within a few blocks of here. So we're very glad Michael's here. And then Bill Como, we actually hadn't met Bill until we were almost done with Phase 1 here. We were planning on using the subscriber solar model. We didn't really know if we could yet. And then we ran across Bill and James and Kevin and Spencer and a bunch of the guys over at Rocky Mountain Power, and they have become amazing partners. They've tried to find solutions to every problem we come across, and for Phase 2 we're working very closely with them to try to find solutions to have things work even a little bit better. So we're very glad that they're both here. Please welcome Mike Lohr, and then we'll hear from Bill Como.
Thanks very much for having me here today. At Goldman Sachs, we believe that investing in our neighborhoods is a truly integral part of creating sustainable communities with opportunity for all. This has been core to the investing strategy at the Goldman Sachs Urban Investment Group, having invested over $7 billion in catalytic projects across the country that help to spur economic development in underserved neighborhoods. With over 2,700 employees working and many living in the downtown area, Goldman Sachs is extremely committed to Utah and to downtown Salt Lake more specifically. Over the past decade, we've invested over $800 million in the state in projects that have created new housing, preserved affordable housing, funded innovative small businesses, supported local not-for-profits, and provided early education for our youth. Our people are actively engaged in the community. We had over 1,800 individuals last year providing community service throughout the summer, and we hope to have more this summer as well. Particular to this project and what we're going to hear more about today, we also have a strategic priority to help deploy capital to over $150 billion to clean energy by 2025, and have an even smaller commitment that to launch in the Clean Energy Access Initiative that's specifically targeted towards underserved neighborhoods. And this project is just a clear example of that commitment, and we're just thrilled to be a part of it. This is one of many projects, as Ivan had noted, that we've had the privilege to work with GIB on. When I first discussed this project with Chris a few years back, I saw the potential that it had, and I just knew that we had to be a part of it. So from that time forward, we were able to provide both debt and equity to the project. GIB is really a developer who's not just looking to build a building, but rather to build a healthy and lasting community. Not just determining who they can rent their units to, but studying the needs of their tenants to create a home. They truly are innovators in creating affordable housing for Utah's residents. As you can see that the innovative work here today, as we stand in front of 112 mixed income units. Not only do they provide a range of quality housing to a range of incomes, it also provides community retail space, adaptive reuse of this historic building that we see here, direct access to public transit, and an innovative electric car sharing program. Essentially a place that provides opportunity for all. And to top it off, it's also Utah's tallest net zero structured building, and really provides a proof of concept for affordable housing to come. It's really, honestly, I think we were really just a small part of this, and we're so thrilled to be able to be here today and to be, partners with GIB and with everyone else in the community to provide a model that can hopefully be used for the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks. We're proud to partner with customers like the GIB Group to help them achieve their sustainability goals. This building is powered by our subscriber solar program, which is over 81,000 panels on around 200 acres in Holden, Utah. That project is one of the largest and most successful community scale projects in the nation. Due to the thousands of residential customers and organizations such as the GIB Group, Salt Lake City, that project is 100% subscribed. Rocky Mountain Power is committed to ensuring that our customers have access to low-cost renewable energy, and is in the process of finding a location for our next subscriber solar plant. Another area of innovation that this building is a part of is the electric vehicle infrastructure and partnership with the community on a rideshare program. That project itself includes electric vehicle infrastructure, electric vehicle charging, electric bicycles, and electric vehicles. It also includes support from us on technical assistance to design a program that allows ride sharing through communities. At this point, I would like to ask Ivan Carroll, Chris Parker, and Amanda Bearden to join me up here just really quick. Great, thanks. When I first met with the GIB Group, they had a dream. Their dream was to help improve the air quality along the Wasatch Front in Utah. This building, this concept, this community shows that they're well on their way of achieving that dream. We would like to recognize them with the Rocky Mountain Power Watt Smart Business Partner of the Year Award for their leadership, and more importantly, the partnerships that they've created to help improve the air quality along the Wasatch Front. Please join me in recognizing their huge accomplishment.
Thank you very much for for that. I found my list of people we needed to thank still. Just real quick, before I introduce the last two speakers, just a few logistic things. If you haven't noticed, there is some amazing food from Maza and Sages in here. Everybody's welcome to take what they want. There's a canopy that has the Blue Sky logo on it right out front. We're going to meet there for anybody that would like to tour. We're going to tour the property, go into the actual building, go see one of the apartment units, and talk a little bit about what we did and why we did it. So once we're done here, you're welcome to chit-chat, eat, take a tour, and get to know a little bit more. A couple people that definitely wanted to thank before we finish up. Let's see, WADMAN. They have been amazing to work with us. They've worked very, very closely, continue to work with us as we prep for phase 2. There's too many guys that have helped us there and women that have helped us there to name, so I'm not going to try. But everybody from WADMAN Corporation, the subcontractors that have helped us out, and EMG, there's a whole slew of people from EMG. They're the property manager for all of our properties, and they're always amazing to help us with events like this, throwing a whole bunch of extra hands. Really appreciate their help. And yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. The next two speakers, Spencer Cox, he told me to keep it brief, so I won't say too much. I think everybody knows our Lieutenant Governor, from everything I know about him, a really great guy. Excuse me. Utah in general is a state that faces its challenges. From what I've seen, we try to face them head on. And I think Lieutenant Governor Cox's help and leadership has been a big part of that. And then lastly, we'll close out with Chris. I've known Chris for a better part of 2.5 decades now. So we've been working together for a long, long time. What I can say specifically about Project Open, we went into a meeting with a bunch of engineers, PVE, Severin at PVE specifically, Architecture Belgique, WADMAN, a whole bunch of other people, and told them what we wanted to do with the subscriber solar program, an all-electric building. Asked them to shoot it down, tell us why we can't do it, why is it dumb, why hasn't it, excuse me, why hasn't it been done. After a whole bunch of big eyes, Chris was able to explain that idea to everybody. We were able to work it out and get it done. But none of it would have happened if Chris hadn't come up with the crazy idea to try it in the first place. That's why we keep him around. He's the one with the crazy ideas that we get to go out and try to implement later. So please welcome Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox, and then we'll hear from Chris Parker.
Thanks, Ivan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's a true honor. I think everything's been said, but not everybody has said it yet. So I get a chance to say a couple things. This is the second opportunity I've had to be at an event like this with Chris and the Give team, and to see the incredible work that they're doing. And Mayor Biskupski put it so very well and so very eloquently. But I hope you all appreciate that this stuff just doesn't happen. It doesn't, and it really doesn't happen anywhere. It's crazy, and it shouldn't happen, and yet it does, and it can, and that's the takeaway for all of us. And this is exactly the type of thinking that we're going to need as a state moving forward. You hear this all the time, I'm sure, but this past year we were the fastest growing state in the nation. We're actually number 2 in birth rate. We're almost always number 1. Last year we were number 2. North Dakota had more babies per capita. I don't get it either. I think alcohol was involved, but we were number 2, and we were number 9 for in-migration. People have discovered Utah in ways that we've never been discovered before, and that's a good thing, but it brings a host of challenges because of the geography of the state, the infrastructure that we have here in our state. Those growth pressures have been with us for a long time, and they're just going to continue. I want to congratulate Mayor Biskupski and her team for recognizing very early on in her administration that affordable housing is the linchpin to everything that's happening. When we look at society today, when we look at the middle class and the pressures facing the middle class and the lower class as well, housing is the most expensive piece of that. Our housing prices in Utah increased 15% over last year. That type of growth is unsustainable. We don't have a California problem yet, but we're well on our way to having a California problem if we're not careful, if we're not thoughtful, and if we're not innovative. And that's what this is all about, the innovation that it's going to take to bring affordable housing in the appropriate density to places that desperately need it, and to do so in a sustainable way. Where to understand that the environmental piece of this is just as important as the price piece of this. And we talk about win-wins all the time, and that's great, but I can't tell you how many win boxes this project checks off. The idea of being able to collaborate with the private sector, the public sector, the nonprofit sector, again, in ways that can bring a dream like this to fruition is truly remarkable. We hear a lot about disruption that takes place in technology, and I couldn't care less about finding a better way to take a selfie. I'm more interested in entrepreneurs that are finding ways to solve the greatest problems that are facing us as a society. As a politician, which is I guess I am now, I can tell you that the answers are not going to come from the politicians. If we're always waiting for Washington D.C. or even Capitol Hill to solve them, it's not going to happen. Our job is to stop saying no to the true innovators like Chris, and to find ways to say yes. And that's what happened in this project. It happened with Salt Lake City. It happened with Goldman Sachs. It happened with Rocky Mountain Power. It happened with the Olene Walker Fund. All of these people and entities coming together, finding ways to say yes. And I'm grateful that there are people crazy like Chris who are willing to put their dreams on the line and then have a team around him that can make them come true. So I agree with the mayor that this is a model for the future. It's a model for everyone in Salt Lake, Utah County, Davis County, Weber County. And I have to add, you probably didn't catch it, but my favorite piece of all of this is that this actually created jobs in rural Utah. That solar farm created jobs in Holden, and now there's going to be another phase of that. Created construction jobs and ongoing jobs for people who desperately need it off the Wasatch Front. So that's another box I don't think they were planning to check, but they checked it. And that means a lot to people who don't live right here on the Wasatch Front. So that's a long way of saying this is a really big deal, and congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. No, really. I mean, it's fun to celebrate a building. It's a lot more fun to celebrate the people behind. And honestly, this team here, I mean, Salt Lake City and Utah generally, I think is one of the most creative places in the nation to develop affordable housing solutions, to develop green housing solutions, to develop things that are worth spending part of a life on. I'll brag a little bit about the two people behind me directly, briefly. Mayor BELGIQUE has been great to work with. We've had a great relationship with her, and I can say after doing that for months and months through the Ribbon Commission that she cares. Another person that didn't have to come to our first event when we were doing our first project in Salt Lake and we're kind of scrappy and idealistic but had no idea what we were doing is the Lieutenant Governor behind me. I hope a lot of you will support me in saying that Lieutenant Governor is a very long and complicated title, and I hope that gets down to one word soon. And I really want to thank specifically Amanda Beard and Ivan Carroll. It's been one of the best things in my life to watch that scrappy, idealistic group move from we don't know but we care really hard to some of the most competent developers in the state. It truly has been amazing to watch, and the most interesting part of that is them not losing that idealistic streak as they became seasoned developers. Working with a team where everyone smiles when you come into the office and doesn't belittle big ideas has been probably the best thing that's happened to me in the last decade. An idea like, well, how do we attack air quality with one building? How do we go ahead and address the doubling of population that can't double our emissions and our inversion in the winter if this is going to be a great place to live? And watching them take that general seed and go and find ways that attack the two root causes why we don't have emission-free buildings all over. It costs too much, and I can't build the building I want if I'm covering it with solar panels. With Rocky Mountain Power as a partner, and with these two friends, allies, co-workers, we can do a future where the economic thing to do is also the green thing to do. And when you combine that, when you combine market forces that see a building like this get built for $50,000 less than had we used natural gas, and see a second phase, it's going to be $200,000 less than what you would use with regular natural gas, you can really start aligning the table so that we can have 10 years from now a future that we're not embarrassed of, that when our friends fly in January, we don't have to make excuses about how it looks in September. I think we can have that future, and honestly, Amanda Carroll, or Amanda Bearden and Ivan Carroll are the two types of people that are going to do that. So from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you'll help me do this, thank you for building this. The other partners that we have on the housing issue, which is slightly more complicated than, hey, we should do this, oh, the numbers work, let's go. Utah Housing Corporation is in the audience, as well as a host of very diligent, very intelligent people working to combat some of the great forces the Lieutenant Governor just mentioned. We have a state that people want to live in. 10 years ago, the average home cost was 2 times the price of the average median income. Now it's 4 times that, the second fastest growth rate in the nation. We're actually across the tracks from the most expensive rental project in the state right now. You're getting $1,700 for a 1-bed, mid-2000s for a 2-bed, and it goes on up from there. And that's great. We're a desirable place to be. People are finding out. But that reality creates another reality where if you work 40 hours in Salt Lake City, you might still be homeless. You can't afford a studio rent downtown at that wage on minimum or even up to $10 or $12. And that's going to catch up to us. We're starting to see these growing pains heavily right now. In 20 years, if we don't find solutions for this, we're going to have a real problem on our hands. And so these diligent partners, as well as a couple upstarts, you might see some literature from EHLI, a new nonprofit in the back room. These guys have some really interesting ideas on how to make our future not include massive swaths of the population that can't afford housing. I really think you should check out their stuff. I don't want to steal their thunder a little bit by talking about it too much, but it's going to take the committed partners that help build this building and the future partners that are thinking about ways to solve this solution that can be more market-driven so that our great subsidies we have right now are used for deeper and deeper AMIs to go ahead and have a future that we're really proud of in 25 years. So please help me in thanking all of them for the work they do and the work they're about to do, and I'll get out of your way to get some great food.
Thank you very much. That concludes what we had here. So, like I mentioned, tours up at the front, eat all the great food, and get to know the people around you.